Alright, I hit the button. I did. I saw myself do it. And I have this filter on because it's the only filter I haven't used yet. I don't think so, anyway. It sort of pisses me off because, it's just one of these things about societies, about living, existing, that, yeah, it's this average person that defines what's available. And so it's like I have this Logitech camera. I have a couple of them, actually. One of them, the speaker doesn't work very well. But anyway, regardless, the software is just totally lame. It's fucking infantile. I mean, there's a ton of these things called avatars, and then a ton of these things called whatever, accessories or something. Like you could have antlers on your head, or bulgy eyeballs, or some other kind of bullshit. And so, yeah, people keep developing new ones of these things. And yet the filters, the only, really useful software, no. It stays the same for years. Yeah, you get a set of 5 or 6, 7 filters. That's it. That's all they do. No one gives a shit. The end. And it's just stupid, in my opinion. This is where something really interesting can take place. And no investment. But anyway, that's just a personal critique. Just really irritating. I mean, there's junk software on the internet that can do this kind of stuff. I mean, it's really something that the people who are selling the cameras should actually be able to provide. But anyway, to the video. In this context. Alright. So the, why I'm not Akaba, or whatever his name is, 123, and not Akaba 121 or something. Anyway, it's just not a great screen name for me. Why I'm not guy. Yeah, I made a good video. Okay, this whole problem of contemplating this thing we're doing. This, I'm alive, I'm conscious, I have an I-ness to me. Yeah, so we know the I part really just doesn't work. Like, there's not some... We know the brain isn't just some thing that's sitting there with control mechanisms going, and thinking about what to do, and but then you have to put a guy inside his head, and then you have to put a guy inside his head, and it's like the God regression thing. That just doesn't work. We're not gods. In the sense of a closed system, like a God would be, if there was such a thing. Not with this open system where we're basically a product of our maturation, our experience, blah, blah, blah. And the I part gets pretty fuzzy because we can see when we look inside of the thing, oh yeah, there's a bunch of bits of crap that are controlling my behavior, and there's not really an I doing it. So then you say my brain, and that sort of sounds a little better because then you're saying my brain is thinking, my brain is doing. But then again, that, as the Ichabod guy points out, kind of sets up a thing like I'm in possession of it, or it's, like there is an owner thing or something, and that's a little iffy. So yeah, in the past I've used the term me brain, like breaking vocabulary a bit, just to get the sense that it's a brain that's possessed by me, that I am, but that it's not quite me. It's me brain. It's the thing that this entity that doesn't exist possesses as a compilation of its experience. So, but yeah, who cares? It's all semantics. The idea is to understand the concept, which is that as you unravel the layers of what we are, like an onion or something else, that it is layers, that it is made of something, that there is something there, and that it's not, there is no infinite regression. There is definite circumstantial input, that there's basically this clean slate that it's all built on, this structural hardware, and then you basically just add the operating system, and then you add the software on top, and how it functions or what kind of computer you have depends on what kind of viruses get in there and what kind of software you're running, whether it's graphics or editorial or some other kind of bullshit, what your focus or your concentration is. I mean, we really can be metaphored, analogized to a computer. And I'm not doing it to insult our flesh integrity. But the bottom line is there's a lot to analogize. The function is very parallel. You have to install the software. You have to install a functionality before the computer has the functionality. And the way we install is through programming. We can't just do an upload. We can't just upload knowledge of how to do something. We actually have to learn how to do it. And even thinking, you can't just install an idea from the top down. You can't just say, this is the truth. Alright? It sort of has to percolate up through the logic if it's going to be able to really function. It has to be part of the system. It has to be tied to the ports and to the USB and to it has to connect properly, or it's not going to be functional. The driver isn't going to work. You're going to get an error code as soon as you try to use that thing in certain ways. It just isn't going to be able to function because the knowledge isn't genuine. The belief isn't genuine. And so the point of the conversation isn't so much about getting the right name of the driver. It's getting the right pieces of the driver installed. The functionality of it. And the functionality is to understand what we are, which is a programmed machine. And so I want to take this, turn it to the idea of, just from a comment you made in your description. It's very nice. You provide descriptions. You make an effort, which is really nice. So anyway, in one paragraph here you say, as in our sense of self never had to make sense, and our brain never had to be equipped with the utmost comprehension of what being conscious and self-conscious means. Okay, so just pointing out, like, we didn't evolve any necessity to do all this stuff. It just needed to figure out that it wanted to survive and how to do so. So that sentence in itself is just, I could pick at that one for a while. Okay, it just needed to figure out that it wanted to survive and how to do so. I don't think it wanted to survive. I think that's just some sort of idol worship. That's programming. That's software. The basic machine is saying good sensation, bad sensation. The basic machine is just saying this feels good, this feels bad. That's it. Okay, it isn't saying, there's no commentary on survival built into the machine. And we can see that in most animals, that they really wouldn't, they have no notion of survival. They have a notion of welfare. And so this is how our words get broken right from the beginning. Because I think we are maturated, we are inundated, just completely inundated, with this virus code that that is right from the start. I mean, the malware just eats into our system, and we are totally distracted by it, by these social norms, by this social nonsense, these pure contrivances of bullshit, like a God mandate, or like some sort of natural mandate that we're somehow programmed to survive, when what we're programmed to do is take care of the body. The survival takes care of itself. And in fact, the system is trying to kill us. Okay, it just wants us to do our replicating, and then we are as disposable can be. All right, we're in the way. Okay, once you've done your sufficient reproduction, you're just basically time to turn you into a hamburger, if possible. Time to turn you into food for the next generation of replication, because your replication is over. Your job is complete. That's what the system is doing. I mean, if you were honest, no offense, but if you're going to honestly describe what the thing to do is that what we needed to figure out is that we're just fodder for a replicating engine. Isn't that the truth of it? Isn't that, when you wipe away the veneers of human bullshit that we've piled on top of for ego's sake, that we've been indoctrinated into, isn't that what's taking place here? It's a DNA molecule replicating, and it does so through humans anyway, through creating this preposterous delusion that your family is more important, your race is more important, you have some sort of identity with these completely irrelevant things, these composites of reality, that you've somehow said, that's a special one, that one's a better one, by no rational standard whatsoever, no logical explanation of the value. I mean, that's what we're living here. That's the reality of our circumstance. So, going back to the sentence again, just the idea that can you imagine that this is just programming, and that I could, if I took a young human from birth, or let's say from the time when it matters what it's hearing, where it's starting to connect gravity and reality, left, right, up, down. It's getting its orientation. It's knowing what a few of these words mean, and it's acquiring enough vocabulary to say, "I'm here." And then you start imposing a real context on its life, and you start talking about how the fact that you're just what I'm going to program into you. This sentence I just said to you just programmed you. Okay, that's the life you're living. That everything that happens to you is just going to program you. You're going to gain associations that are going to define not only your sexual preference, but your eating habits, what kind of people you like or dislike, what kind of eccentricities people could have, whether they, rub their nose a lot, or, rub their eyes, or, go blah, 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 in the middle of sentences. And some of these things are going to irritate the fuck out of you, and some of these things are going to be very endearing, and it's all going to depend on this idea of whether you encountered the person at your birthday party, or whether you encountered the person at the hospital while your fucking, brain was hemorrhaging. It's all going to depend on these associations and connections. You're going to be completely manipulated by this sort of kind of chance of experience, personal circumstance. What happens to you in your life, what kind of pianos fall on you. It's going to decide what kind of person you're going to be, how paranoid you're going to be, how worried you're going to be, how cautious you're going to be, how reckless you're going to be. That would be a hell of a context to start life at. I mean, I certainly would have appreciated being told that truth, that's what existence is, and it's all going to be a big fat pile of shit. Everything you're going to care about is just another. It's just the same Cheeto at the end. It's the same synthetic, contrived bullshit that you're chasing. It's just a notion in your frickin' brain. Okay, it's a need contrived merely for the purpose of keeping you moving, because moving was a part of surviving, and surviving in the sense of functioning with a welfare, comforting, keeping your body fed, keeping it out of danger. This is what you're programmed to do by the basic hardware. Yeah, that's a pretty dismal statement. And it's a statement we can perfectly easily accept as programming, just because the fact that nature has cheated all along. I mean, nature didn't have to trick us very hard to trick us. I mean, all it had to do was make sex fun, okay? And it convinced us to survive. It convinced us to procreate, right? I mean, that's the catch here, right? Is that you could certainly, at least as a male, from my personal experience, I can say that there's no real biological urge to be near children. Okay, I mean, there's nothing that compels me to say I've got to have one of those. They're really yummy. There's just nothing that says I want one. But there's all kinds of motivations to have sex. And isn't that the trick? The trick really is that all these animals in nature aren't reproducing on purpose. They're not projecting, they're not saving their species. The whales aren't worried that they're going extinct. The whales are worried about whether they got enough shrimp today or not. All right? They really just don't care whether there's too many parasites on their back. They just don't give a fuck. Okay, they have no notion of any, oh my God, our species is going extinct. And, they get all weepy about it. That kind of shit ain't happening. That takes programming. That takes bullshit in. And they just haven't had that bullshit in. So isn't that the joke here? Is that nature has can fool these complex mammals. We're all so proud of our intelligence, and look what percentage of the human race is completely duped by the molecule into thinking there's some purpose in the reproductive act, and all it had to do was give you a carrot for performing a function, okay, that you enjoyed, and you fell for it. You were suckered, because you grab the carrot, and the string on the carrot, when you pull it, baby pops out. You didn't want the baby, you just wanted the fucking carrot. Let's be real. And so what has happened is culture has connected those two things. It's connected baby to the carrot. There's no real connection. The only connection existed in a gimmick that nature was using to persuade you, tricky, that it was using is also tricky. But obviously somebody with brains is going to understand when I'm using these words, I'm using them because this is how our language has been built. And that we could build it right. We could teach people how to speak accurately about what our reality is. But then that would sort of break the game, wouldn't it? You couldn't maintain these delusions and these illusions of bullshit if we actually did speak literally about what is happening to us. That there is no spontaneous, that this is cause and effect, that we're all byproduct, and that's the reality. And we're being manipulated by a molecule. Okay, I mean, it's just that simple. And the agenda is built into the molecule. Like the molecule is not manipulating us on purpose. It doesn't have, Simon Bar's sinister eyeballs, and it's not saying, how can I fuck with these humans? It's fucked with itself. It's chemistry being fucked with. And it's all happening just for one reason, because it evolves. Evolution changes the game. As soon as it can do this, read a blueprint that changes thing, then the automatic imposed scenario is a contest, okay, a competition, and the competition is extended to mean something like success is important, winning, okay, because that's the end result is that there's no way of maintaining in the natural sense, in the natural environment. It's very hard to maintain your welfare, okay, and die. To lose the battle and in some way have that be a pleasurable or a comforting experience. No, that association is automatic. So it's automatically going to tend by probabilistic outcome that dying's not going to be a good thing. Now one could argue that being just stomped by a Tyrannosaurus without even seeing him coming up from behind you would be a very quick death, very good, but we weren't given that knowledge. So we couldn't take advantage of it. Not that we ever walked around when Tyrannosauruses did, but a form of we did. One of our ancestors certainly did. And it chose not to get stomped out. Because it didn't understand that being alive was being just a dupe for the replication of a molecule design. A shape of molecule was competing. And it had built into its structure some notion that somehow it was better to be the winner than the loser. Even though we as intelligence can understand it's arbitrary, completely stupid. There's nothing to win here but to raise a flag that says win on it. And if I stood here with a flag that says win on it, I'd look stupid. Right? I mean, and that's what it is. It's stupid. There's no victory. You can't win. And so I'm just saying, if you maturated, if you raised a child with that idea, they wouldn't write a sentence that says it just needed to figure out that it wanted to survive. You have to be made into somebody who wants to survive. Wanting to survive is like wanting the Giants to win the Super Bowl. Wanting to survive is a soap opera addiction. Wanting to survive is living off of some notion of curiosity or voyeurism or I don't even know how to it's a conditioned response to associate survival with an accomplishment. And certainly I would also argue reproduction as an accomplishment. It's a biological end result of being seduced and duped into performing an act that has a result that has absolutely no intrinsic, fundamental function beyond completing a DNA molecule's tendency. Right? What other word do you use? I mean, it tends to want to stay out of the gutter. I don't know. It tends to go in that direction, and it doesn't do it for a reason that is reasoned. It doesn't do it for a logical imperative. It does it because of a mechanical circumstance. So mechanics are dictating this want to survive. It isn't dictated by, I intelligently understand this has functionality and purpose, and there is accomplishment, there is productivity gleaned through this activity. No. Sorry. No logical, rational argument can be made. There's no need served by our contrivance of a need for the Cheeto. There's no need to chase the Cheeto. There's just no need anywhere in it. And so it's entirely a waste engine. It's entirely just obliging matter to engage in a forced march of movement, of experience, of nonsense, and to sit there and humans have just been seduced by the dance, and they somehow think dancing is productive. They somehow think there's a purpose in it because they're just fallen into the tribe that dances. It's a stupid dance. It's just a hokey pokey. I'm going to keep arguing these kind of metaphors, but it's a dumb game. It's tic-tac-toe. An intelligence can't play it because it's not a game anymore. It's too fucking obvious how controlled and manipulated we are. And alright, so last thing I'll say is the trick to this though is that I'm talking from this perspective, like where it really doesn't matter for me. I'm not in the game anymore in a lot of ways, and so it's really easy for me. But I guess I would also argue though that it would have been really easy for me at 10 years old to accept this truth too. It would have been in those middle years that it would have been tricky. At 17 it would have been tricky, because then I was so blinded by the horny monster that, oh fuck, I'm there's no way I'm gonna disengage the game when I'm almost ready to get some of the game. I'm just 2 feet away from the fucking Cheeto. Now you're not gonna tell me it's synthetic. I just don't want to hear about it. Okay, so yeah, at 17 maybe I wouldn't have heard this argument, but I would have heard it at 10. And I would have heard it at 30. But that's sort of the trick. Is this, how caught up are you? How fucking obsessed with the Cheeto are you, in terms of having this I identity, this being obsessed with this meanness, and playing the game you've been sort of built to play, no doubt about it. But let's make a distinction between the hardware and the software. The hardware has you worried about feel good, feel bad. Alright? And it's all software. Alright? It's all conditioning and programming that decides what you define as good later. What makes you feel good or bad? What is comforting or disquieting? What is what causes cognitive dissonance and what doesn't? That stuff is going to be a result of how extensive your programming or how much you have cheated the truth in your foundational norms, as if it wanted to survive is a truth, or whether that's a contrivance of culture and circumstance. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, would a true Vulcan say it wanted to survive? Don't think so. Yeah, don't think so. Anyway, so that's enough of a video, I believe. So kind of a harsh effect, but sort of goes with the idea that our self is not a self. It's pathways of energy. It's pathways of associations, blocks of stuff that are controlling us. We aren't controlling it. And so it's a battle now between the fundamental mechanism and the logic software that has stacked the boxes, climbed up the boxes of bullshit, putting together what's going on, and looked down at the machine and is saying, oh, replicating molecule. Replicating molecule. Yeah. That's all there is here. It's just kind of bullshit. Time to pull the